My first memory of Aunt Martha, and I'll close the loop for you in a minute, was I would have been 3 to 4 again, and we were at Granny's apartment on 83rd, and Aunt Martha was wrestling around on the ground with us. Now, to put that in context, flash forward, when I'm at the age of 29, I visit Aunt Martha in Washington, D.C. at the time. And I was she said, we had a nice visit, but she said, you seem a little down, Jim. And I said, well, here I am, I'm 29, I don't know exactly where I'm going. And she said, well, you got a PhD, you're teaching, I said, yeah, but and then she finally just started laughing. And I said, well, what is so funny about the fact that I'm not sorting out my life? And she said, you realize I was 60 the day you were born? And so when my earliest memory of her is her rolling around on the floor with me. She's 63, 64 years old, with this incredible rich history, which I was not aware of, obviously, at the time. But this is a woman who went to Bryn Mawr and graduated from Bryn Mawr in the early 20th century. She became very involved in the suffragist movement. She was the editor of the Women's Suffragist Journal in 1918, and never ever stopped being anything but a gracious, caring, dedicated person. When she was 82, she was born in 1882, so let me make sure I've got that right. She goes door to door for Jack Kennedy in 1960, when Jack is running for President of the United States. And so she would have been, 78 years old, going door to door for Jack Kennedy, and went again in 64, when she was 82. She lived to the almost 100, and every member of the family that I know has a story to tell about Aunt Martha's kindness, her reaching out. She and Bob were very, very close. My mother, of course, became more conservative as she grew older, and Aunt Martha got more liberal. And I remember sitting in McLean, Virginia, and I think Dawn was there, so Dawn will remember this, but somehow the subject of bra burning came up, and of course, not a conversation I was used to having with anybody in my house. And Aunt Martha finally turned to my mother and said, Helen, just relax, for heaven's sakes. The world has to change. It has to move forward. Doesn't always do it neatly, has to do it. The last story I'll share on this vignette is one I think that everybody in this generation of the family has heard, but the day before she died, she called both Bob and I down to her nursing home, and she informed both of us separately that she had decided she was tired of fighting. She was almost 100 and she just wasn't interested any longer. And so she had wanted to talk to both of us, and she had her conversation with Bob, and to this day, I don't know what she said to Bob, but to me, she said, well, Jim, you're the one who seems to be most interested in public policy and politics. And she said, I just wanted to make sure I told you these things. She said, I worked so hard to get the vote for women. And then we finally got it, and I am embarrassed that I threw the first presidential vote I ever had away on a pretty face. I voted for Warren G. Harding. I can't believe that to this day. She said, and then in 1972, I couldn't stand George McGovern, and so I voted for Richard Nixon. She said, so there you have it. She said, it was, 60 years of voting, and I only voted for 2 Republicans, and they were both crooks. I think there's a message in there someplace. So God love her. She was an amazing, amazing woman.